What is going on, everyone? MikeO back doing a PSA DNA reveal video. These are videos I miss making. I personally don't really miss grading with PSA, but I do miss PSA DNA. Autograph authentication and encapsulation. It's really the first way I got into getting cards slabbed. I was into that more so than even standard card grading years ago. And it's always been fun. Autograph collecting, always enjoyed it. I've definitely gotten away from it over the last few years. Less opportunities in person post-pandemic. Not as many charity events with in-person signing opportunities and such. And I've never been one to, chase and stalk people like some of these autograph seekers. And just don't have the time for TTM as much anymore. But I do enjoy collecting autographs. And it doesn't have to be the big stuff. It doesn't have to be the Hall of Famers. It just has to be players that mean something to me. And I'd still pursue autographed Phillies cards for the collection. And then, of course, all that pack pulled stuff. Anyway, 63 card order back from PSA DNA. Definitely took quite a while. Want to say... Gosh, I can't even remember offhand when this... I think they entered it in October, and I believe it was sent off a few months before that. So I want to say this is from July or August, if I'm not mistaken, but I did not look it up. Anyway, two cards were not encapsulated. One for my buddy Nick, this Johnny Bananas from Allen & Ginter Chrome. They didn't say it was questionable authenticity. They just couldn't make a judgment on it. There were a group of this particular subject, and the other ones were authenticated. So I think it's pretty safe to assume this one is authentic. It's just, I guess, based on the color overall, they weren't comfortable making that determination. So it's just a no holder. So no charge on that one. This one, however, received the N4 questionable authenticity. So that one, you do get charged for that because they weren't able to deem it was authentic. They're not saying it's not authentic, but they went through the process of actually doing that. However they do it. Either way, the Billy Crystal did not get slabbed, unfortunately. All right, so we have a few cards here for my buddy Big Scott, a few for Nick, Web of Cards, and then the rest of these are mine, and they are all Phillies. So a lot of nostalgic Phillies names in there. So first up for Big Scott, from my buddy Scott, he has this Jeff Kent. And these are all just trading card. They're all the generic labels, which is substantially cheaper at this time, and it's supposed to be a much quicker turnaround time. I wouldn't call this turnaround time quick at all, but certainly quicker than if you went through the process of having the card identified and authenticated. And I certainly would prefer, if this were for my collection, I prefer this to say 1996 tops, but it's also, for me, not the end of the world, because the purpose of me sending these in, at least from myself, is to get the autographs authenticated and to have the card encapsulated for the collection. The card details are not the most meaningful thing. Anyway, Jeff Kent received an authentic authentication. Jeff Kent obviously ended up having a brilliant career. I'd say he was kind of just okay for the Mets. Went on to bigger and better things with the San Francisco Giants, which got him on the cusp of the Hall of Fame. Fell a little short. We'll see if he eventually gets in, though. Here's a Kevin Mitchell. He's part of the 86 Mets team. And then also went on to play for the San Francisco Giants. So cool Kevin Mitchell there. Remember making that barehanded catch as a kid. And Davey Johnson, the former Philly, went on and managed the Mets. So authentic there on the Davey Johnson 1990 Topps card. And then I believe these two are Scott's. I got to double check with him. I got to check my list. But he sent in a pair of John Kruk's in the wrong uniform. San Diego Padres. No, it's cool. Any John Kruk's a great John Kruk. But a couple of these signed in black. 1987 and 1988 Topps. So a couple cool John Kruk autographs. And you'll see some more John Kruk's in this video in the correct uniform. No White Sox cards, though. All right, Nick, Web of Cards. Here's his stuff. TJ Lavin on the Allen & Ginter Mini. That's the black border. Got that one. And then here's some more Johnny Bananas. This one's also in silver Sharpie, but this is the foil as opposed to the chrome. So apparently they were able to authenticate that signature. This one really pops coming up next. This one looks cool. In blue ink on the 2020 Allen & Ginter. Johnny Bananas. Dick Vitale auto on the mini Ginter. That's from, 2011. I have some of the standard size ones of him. And then some customs here. These ones are just labeled as card. Jerry Reinsdorf. And another Jerry Reinsdorf. Sitting there with Michael Jordan. Carol Burnett Show. And then a Chris Bryant. So cool Chris Bryant there for Nick's Giants collection. Obviously, Bryant was acquired from the Cubs and then ended up taking off for Colorado as a free agent. But definitely cool. Like, I love getting autographs of players, who played even just for a short time for the Phillies, because they're obviously not going to have a lot of stuff. And then you get a couple of these little coins signed. These are from probably, 90 tops? 87. All right, so this is the Reggie Jackson. So it's pretty cool that was authenticated and encapsulated. And then the Will Clark. And the Will Clark looks pretty good there, signed in blue. I mean, obviously it's hard for those guys to sign those. They do not have much space. So congrats to Scott and Nick on getting those cards authenticated and soon to be back into the collection. All right, here's a stack for myself, so we'll take a look at these. We've got a John Kruk. This is Fleer Ultra. This is from a Phillies, I believe it was a giveaway pack, a Phillies exclusive, sponsored by Tasty Cake and MAB Paints. The All Vet Team, so cool one there of John Kruk. Obviously, a guy who's just like one of those all-time Phillies. He's a fan favorite, member of the 93 NL pennant winning team. He's been an announcer for years for the Phillies as well, so a real character of baseball. Here's a 1993 Upper Deck. This is a team set I'm pursuing, and there's a substantial number of them in this order. So, John Kruk. Here's a cool Pete Incaviglia. He was also a member of the 93 Phillies team. And one of the reasons I like this card is it's in the old school, 30s Phillies uniform. They had a throwback, turn back the clock day back in the day. And it was one of the times they actually did the helmet. A lot of times in the past, they would do dumb stuff, like wear the retro uniforms, but they were too cheap to manufacture the helmets, which in retrospect really silly, because honestly they could have just resold the helmets and made a profit on them, I'm sure. But memorabilia maybe not as popular back in the day. Here's an Incaviglia from that 93 Upper Deck set, which is a beautiful looking set. I wouldn't say this is one of the best looking cards. Incaviglia looks like he just struck out or is in kind of deep thought there. I wouldn't say that's one of the best, but generally speaking, this is a very colorful and beautiful set. Here's one of those oddballs I was talking about, Norm Charlton. You remember him as a nasty boy. Remember that 90s Reds bullpen? Some great Reds teams back then. He did spend a little bit of time in Philadelphia with the Phillies. Not someone who had a lot of Phillies cards, and certainly not a lot of opportunities for autographs, but you can see he had a really good run there with the Reds, even the year there with the Mariners. Sub-3 ERA every year. Setup man with the Reds, closer towards the end. Really clean autograph, too. So I actually got 2 of those back. So super cool. And then some Fernando Valenzuela, superstar of baseball back in the day. Obviously as a Dodger, but he did wrap up his career in Philadelphia. And just one of those things that I find neat. And I was pursuing one for so long, and next thing you know, I end up with a pile of them. And here are a bunch of them here. Here's a blue border from Collector's Choice. Another Collector's Choice. I don't think he's a really difficult signature anymore. Believe he's still doing some announcing there in LA. So Fernando Mania. Super cool to get these all back. Here's a guy who belongs in the Hall of Fame, hopefully someday. Curt Schilling, 93, Upper Deck. Awesome in 93 in the NLCS. He was MVP, pitched great in the World Series as well. Unfortunately, of course, they came up a little short, and then he had some really good years. And the Phillies in the mid to late 90s, they had like Hall of Fame caliber players, but just had zero depth and were so bad for so long. You had Curt Schilling, who at some point will probably get in. You had Scott Rowland, who just got in. And then you even had Bobby Abreu, who's a guy who's hung around on the ballot. And towards the end of that, you had Jimmy Rollins, who, has an opportunity. I mean, we'll see if all these guys get in, but they're guys who are at least in the conversation, and yet those teams were so bad. Here's a cool 1990, well, is this 91? This might be 91. Yeah, it's 91 Upper Deck. Dale Murphy. Beautiful blue signature. Obviously an all-time great. Here's a Robin Roberts. Sweet looking card there. Hall of Famer, 76. It's another Robin Roberts. Todd Zeile. Another one of those guys. I remember him being a hot rookie back in like 1990 Fleer. Obviously, he had some time in Philadelphia. And it's cool to get an autograph of him back into the collection. Mark Whitten, hard-hitting Mark Whitten. Once hit 4 home runs in a game. He actually was team leader for the Phillies one year in home runs, and I think his total was like 13. I want to say it was probably like 96. He had like 13 home runs, got traded in like August, and ended up still leading the team in home runs, which showed how bad offensively some of those teams were. Here's a Paul Quantrill. His son Cal Quantrill, big leaguer now, but Paul Quantrill was a solid pitcher. One of those guys with like a rubber arm, would pitch like every day out of the bullpen, then became a starter. He was actually the Phillies' opening day starter at least once, maybe even twice. But he was one of those guys not going to be remembered by general baseball fans. Some Phillies fans will remember him, but he really was pretty decent for the Phils. Mark Lewis, he was not very good for the Phillies, but just kind of like a running gag in the family where my brother and I laugh about him. Remember Chris Wheeler back in the day kind of talking him up when the Phillies acquired him. I think he was only in Philadelphia for a year, but that's like one of those just cool cards for the collection. Not everything has to be about the big dollars and the big money. It's just about the memories, the nostalgia, and enjoying the cards you have. Here's a Rex Hudler. Obviously, Rex Hudler, one of those guys, again, character of baseball. He's done announcing for years as well. So pretty cool. He was with the Phils in the mid-90s. Jeremy Giambi, rest in peace. One of the many times the Phillies have had the wrong brother. As Jason's winning MVPs, the Phillies acquired Jeremy Giambi, who actually homered in his first at-bat as a Philly. And then I believe he homered in his second at-bat as a Philly as well. And his third at-bat as a Philly was hit to like the warning track or right in front of the fence. But that was more or less the highlight of his Phillies career. I mean, he was okay, but certainly never developed into a star or anything like that. But that's a Nabisco Acme card there. So kind of cool to get some of these oddball Phillies on some of these. Here's Turk Wendell. Good old Turk, another character of baseball, eating licorice in the mound, brushing his teeth in between innings. Wacko. Wish he did a better job of getting guys out while he was on the Phillies. Obviously, he did have some success in his career. John Vukovich, Phillies Wall of Famer, was on some good teams back in his playing days. Longtime coach of the third base coach of the 93 Phillies. John Vukovich, did a great job. Played a very big role in a lot of players. You hear Scott Rowland, he was talking about him recently as well, so that's a cool one there. All right, and the second stack, we got a Billy Wagner. That's from the first year at Citizens Bank Park. I can see the patch there. They used to wear those hats, I think, for interleague games. And Billy Wagner is most likely going to end up in the Hall of Fame. He's inching closer year by year. It's hard to believe he won't get in unless, something crazy happens, but he's working his way in, so potential future Hall of Famer there. Here's some more. There's 93 Upper Deck. Mariano Rivera. Or Mariano Duncan, I should say. Mariano Rivera. Mariano Rivera would be a little bigger card, but Mariano Duncan, he's a good player. Played a while. I think he was on the 90 Reds. Yeah, 90 Reds, who were a great team. 93 Phillies. It's Dave Hollins. He had some really good years. Former All-Star. We got Kyle Abbott. He didn't really live up to what people had hoped he could be. He definitely struggled in 92, as you can see. 1-14, 5.13 ERA. Stan Javier. Cameo by Will Clark. Mickey Morandini. He's hung around. Still does some stuff with the Phillies organization. Kim Batiste smacking Ozzie Smith in the face. He passed away in the last year or two as well. Here's Milt Thompson. Looks like Dale Murphy to the left and Ricky Jordan to the right. Milt Thompson, 2-time Philly. Here's a Ricky Jordan. Really odd card here because he's much more known as a first baseman, but played some outfield as well later in his career, catching a ball against the fence. He ended up having a really nice career as a bench player for the Phillies. That doesn't help your when you're hyped as a big-time rookie. It doesn't help your value or collectability, but he was one of those key members in the 93 Phillies. Just such a good team. David West, another Philly gone too soon. Juan Bell, another guy. He's not around anymore. And this is really tough to find Philly's autographed card of him. Most stuff you see signed by him is from his Orioles days. Oddball Philly here, Sid Fernandez. Obviously better known with the Mets, but Sid Fernandez pitched a long time with the Mets. Obviously was on that 86 team as well, Orioles, but then pitched a little while with the Phillies towards the end of his career. So loving those oddball pickups. This card is just unbelievably beautiful. Look at the beautiful autograph on that. This Upper Deck Retro set is awesome. Great design. Love the borders. Super cool set. So that is sweet. We had that Ricky Jordan oddball card. Well, here's another one. Darren Dalton. And you even have him labeled as a catcher here, but he did play left field at the end of his career. So he's out there tracking down a fly ball. You see a fan there watching him. So this was taken from the stands. But Darren Dalton autograph. Bobby Munoz. He was a pitcher for the Phillies for a short while. Phillies acquired him from the Yankees in the Terry Mulholland trade, and he actually pitched very well in 94 and then just had injury issues. I think he had like a 3-run home run at a game I was at back in the 90s. Bob Dernier, 1989 Upper Deck. Loved Bob Dernier. Do yourself a favor after you watch this video. Search Bob Dernier inside the park walk-off home run. Awesome. Great memory as a kid. Love that. Another 93 Upper Deck, Danny Jackson. Just another oddball guy. This guy was not very good, but Sil Campusano. Harry Callis did a great job with his name back in the day, but not exactly a star type of player. A very light hitter. Darryl Ackerfelds. He was a Phillies reliever in the early 90s. He passed away at an early age as well. Dallas Green, another guy, rest in peace. This is from the Fleer Ultra All-Vet team. The All-Vet manager, Dallas Green, manager of the 1980 World Champion Phillies. Get a Mitch Williams from 93 Upper Deck. Lenny Dykstra, 93 Upper Deck. And the final card from the order is a Benito Santiago on this cool SP. Really nice set. Super damaged back, obviously, but the autograph looks great. 96. 1 year with the Phillies, hit 30 home runs, and then got out. But cool order, fun order, nostalgic, some super sweet stuff for the collection there. Definitely happy to have him finally back. And I appreciate you guys watching. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think of the order. What do you think of the slabs? Who's your authenticator of choice? I've always used PSA DNA. I do trust Beckett. I don't love Beckett slabs, but I think Beckett's authentication team's very, very good. Would love to see SGC get back in the game, but we'll see. I'll continue to send some stuff to PSA DNA going forward, and thinking about trying out some stuff with Beckett as well, because I know they do some good deals, and I'm more into, and I enjoy, that the lower price, lower value autographs. It might be lower monetary value, but it's just as valuable for my collection. All right, comment below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great one.